I've made a lot of OCs in my life, and although many come and go, one stuck with me, and that's this character right here, Pumpkin Boy. And today I'd like to expand on his lore and kind of get to know his character a little bit better myself. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, welcome to my channel Wardrawsalot, and today we're going to be talking about Pumpkin Boy. First, let's talk about the birth of Pumpkin Boy. 2 years ago, around the time I started the channel, actually like a few months later, it was October, and I was like, you know what, I kind of want to make a character that would, for me, represent some part of October or Halloween. And I remember just started out the sketch, and I was like, man, I kind of like this, and it ended up being a character that I really stuck with. And then, after I made the first drawing of him, I made the second drawing, which would be more of his body and everything, so I really wanted to flush him out even further. And then from then on, he just kind of stuck with me. I even drew him again last year as the first prompt for my Drawtober series, which I don't think I'll ever do Drawtober again, but he was the first one because the first prompt was Pumpkin, and I was like, hell yeah, it's time for Pumpkin Boy to shine. So every chance that I get to in October or in the spooky months, I draw Pumpkin Boy, and I kind of make sure he stands out. Pumpkin Boy is relatively simple when it comes to his looks. He's, well, number one, he's paper white. That's like the first thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to make him as ghostly looking as possible because he's kind of like a spirit, not so much a person. So, you know, I went with the traditional ghostly white that I could think of. Since his name is Pumpkin Boy, his main color is definitely orange, which is why he has this massive orange sweater with these bell sleeves, which I didn't realize I made them much shorter here than I did in the previous times that I drew this sweater. So next time I'll take a mental note of that, where I draw his bell sleeves much longer, because I remember that was one of the things that I really liked about his outfit. To contrast his paper white skin, I gave him jet black hair, so it really stands out on his head. The orange is also in his eyes, so it kind of further pushes the fact that he is Pumpkin Boy. His smile kind of imitates the jack-o'-lantern type smile, which is like open mouth with the two teeth kind of sticking out, or a few teeth a certain way. It's kind of like emulating the jack-o'-lantern, especially because during October that's such a big thing with pumpkins. On top of all that, Pumpkin Boy is actually very tall, around 7 feet to be exact, which is funny because I usually don't make my characters that tall. I think most of my characters range between like 5'8", if they're guys usually, between maybe like 5'7", 5'8", all the way up till 6'3", 6'4", because I give them that height. Sometimes I'll do shorter if I want, but like that's the average height, so making him 7 feet is definitely out of the ballpark, because that's pretty damn tall, which is why in that one drawing, which you'll see up on the screen again, he's next to a very tall pumpkin because, you know, he's the same height as that tall pumpkin, which, you know, is also incredible. A 7-foot tall pumpkin, holy shit. One thing that I kind of messed up while I was drawing in this sketchbook spread, the Pumpkin Boy, is I didn't make him as thin as he was in the previous drawings. I actually like the fact that he was so thin and tall. I usually don't do that. My characters are pretty, I'd like to say pretty meaty, whether it's muscular or like have some kind of chub on them or something. So for me to do a skinny character, to me, is like, wow, what a difference. Because I usually just don't do it, and I want to practice that more often. And although the character still looks pretty skinny, don't get me wrong, Pumpkin Boy still looks pretty thin here by my standards, I like the fact that he was so skinny, tall, and lanky, and almost look like, you know, like I said before, spirit-like, ghost-like, stuff like that, where the human proportions don't necessarily need to be constricted to that otherworldly realm. I guess that's why, more than anything, references are important, even if it's your own artwork, because, you know, what you think you remember your character as sometimes versus what they were actually drawn as can be totally different or have slight changes to them. Or if you've practiced enough with drawing that character, then you'd probably get it down pat. But realistically, I draw Pumpkin Boy like once or twice a year, so I should have looked back at my own references and been like, okay, this is what I need to change. But it's fine anyway, because, you know, this is a sketchbook. You're supposed to mess up in it and not final artworks, and it's all practice at the end of the day when it comes to this, so yeah. So now that I've talked to you about Pumpkin Boy, what he looks like, it's finally time to get into his lore a little bit. Pumpkin Boy resides within the holiday realm. This realm is not exclusive to just Halloween, but every holiday throughout the year. So Valentine's Day, Christmas, the New Year's, all kind of work together throughout the year to throw these big events that happen on their special days. Now, some of these people that work in this realm are non-specific workers, right? So you do have these workers that work throughout the entire holidays and can jump around from different holidays just so they can help out with the preparation of the big days. But you have some workers that are really specific with their tasks and have really important jobs, and that's where someone like Pumpkin Boy comes in. You see, during the month of October, a lot of pumpkins get used up, and if it isn't for something like pumpkin pie or doing pumpkin smashes, then it's definitely for making jack-o'-lanterns. The thing is with jack-o'-lanterns is that, believe it or not, they have souls, and Pumpkin Boy just so happens to be in charge of those souls. When you pick up a pumpkin and you're like, wow, I can't wait to carve my jack-o'-lantern into this pumpkin, Pumpkin Boy has already put those souls in those pumpkins. You see, they're almost predestined to become those jack-o'-lanterns because he takes and harvests the souls from them and then puts them into new future pumpkins. So those souls no longer are just thrown out of the door, because once you create that face, you create that personality, and then after the pumpkin rots and dies, where does it go? Into thin air? No. That's where Pumpkin Boy comes in. He takes the soul from the jack-o'-lantern that you made, and then afterwards goes ahead and transfers it over to the next year's pumpkin patch. And this is actually an extremely taxing job on Pumpkin Boy. Imagine how many millions and millions of pumpkins just get used for jack-o'-lanterns alone. Not only is he transferring the spirits over, but it takes a lot of magic out of him. In fact, it takes so much out of him that for the rest of the year, Pumpkin Boy sleeps. He just constantly is in hibernation because of the sole fact that as soon as October rolls by, he needs all that energy stored up and ready to go for when the time comes. But there are times where he wakes up for emergencies and he understands that pumpkins are in need of taking care of, so he will get up from his hibernation if needed and will go ahead and do the job that he needs to do. However, a lot of the other holiday spirits that reside within the holiday realm understand how big Pumpkin Boy's job is and will try and handle things on their own. Some other holidays also have a lot of work to do, and in a different way. So you have someone like Pumpkin Boy who has to use spirit energy in order to move and transfer souls from pumpkin to pumpkin. Then you have somebody who I call the Candyman, and the Candyman obviously is in charge of all the candy, but not just for the Halloween event, for every event throughout the year. Sadly, I haven't come up with concept art of Candyman yet, but he is one of the many characters that I think of in the holiday realm that is with Pumpkin Boy. But I have somewhat of a kind of fleshed out story for Candyman, so I'll explain it anyway on what his job is. The Candyman's job is to give the candy its flavor, so without him, your treats wouldn't taste sour or sweet. What he does is he studies some kind of a wind magic, but because the wind magic isn't nearly as taxing as soul magic, he's able to kind of have some relief throughout the year. What he'll do is he'll take large dusts of sugar or whatever makes substances sour and then uses wind magic to coat the candy in their flavor. But that's not all. Before he has to coat the candy with the flavor, he actually has to go in and speak to the sugar powder and the sour powder to make them that flavor. So he talks up the powder to make it sweet by telling it sweet things, and he talks up the powder that is sour and tells it some sour stuff to make it that flavor. So not only is his wind magic really important for this job, but so are his communication skills. So every single holiday has a really big part of it, and they all intermingle for a reason. Just like how I said, the Candyman goes ahead and puts out the candy sweetness, sourness for the entire year. There are a lot of other characters in this world that go ahead and do their job. But that was just another one that I listed because that's who I have the most fleshed out at the moment. Now that I've given you some lore on the Holiday Realm, Pumpkin Boy, and even the Candyman, I want to talk about the sketchbook spread. So on this page right here, which is the left one, you have two pumpkins that are kind of in the forefront, and you have ghosts in the background, and it looks like they're kind of eyeing up the pumpkins and being like, ooh, I like that one, and choosing which pumpkins they'd like to go into. So those are spirits that have already been harvested by the Pumpkin Boy, and they're kind of ready to go. And then you have the sketchbook page on the right, which is the one that actually has Pumpkin Boy in it. You could see that he's in the process of currently taking out one of the souls from a jack-o'-lantern that has been long gone for the most part. To do this, he holds the pumpkin with both hands, and then he tilts the face upward, and then does his little magic spell to let the soul kind of come right out of the pumpkin in front of him, and he almost greets them and tells them, hey, you're back in this holiday realm, and it's time for you to find a new home. So then after he says that and has his little greeting with the spirit, he tells the spirit, go on ahead, and he points out this giant pumpkin patch in where he welcomes them into a new life. On the bottom right of the sketchbook spread is like this giant pile of pumpkins, and those are just a few that you get to see because there are millions kind of waiting for him to go ahead and release them from their little orange prison. So I made sure that when I was doing those pumpkins that they were not only different shapes and sizes, but different colors. I was originally just going to try and keep as much of it as orange as possible, but I told myself, like, realistically, that's going to look really muddy and confusing, and it won't even look nice and cohesive at some point, because it'll just be this giant mush of just straight up orange. So I made sure to put certain colors in certain areas to kind of make them look much more appealing to the eye, because we still want to take in the fact that there is somebody who's going to be looking at this sketchbook spread and being like, oh, this kind of looks awkward or off. I know what I drew and I know how I drew it, but I want to try and think of it in the sense of, if somebody was to look at this sketchbook spread, would it look strange? And if I did all orange, yes, it would have looked strange. So a perfect example of this is like when Pumpkin Boy is holding that pumpkin. I originally was like, oh, let's make the pumpkin orange, but then I was like, wait, if I make the pumpkin orange and his sweater is orange, everything's just gonna get lost in translation. So I decided to go with a pumpkin that was more of a greenish yellow, which also makes sense because pumpkins are a large variety of colors. There's not just like the orange pumpkin. I think that's the one that's like been popularized more than anything in media and in shows, so that's why that's the one we kind of associate with jack-o'-lanterns. But realistically, there are yellow pumpkins, green ones, white ones. There's even, I think, like black pumpkins are like really dark ones. So there's like a bunch and a whole different variety of them. So I made sure to kind of put that in there and like make sure they stand out, because not everybody picks just the orange pumpkin to carve out for Halloween. It could literally be any color. But I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't know if the orange pumpkin has a benefit for carving because of its like ease to cut or whatever. Especially because I've never done a jack-o'-lantern in my life before. I've like cut open pumpkins so we can like cook them, you know, but like never sat there and like carved it up. So I don't know if there's necessarily a difference between pumpkins that can be carved and not carved. I don't really think so, though. I figure pumpkins are just pumpkins, really, more than anything. Coming back to the sketchbook spread, when it came to lining, I kind of took a different approach this time. I did go ahead and line Pumpkin Boy himself and the pumpkin he's holding, and the outline of the ghosts. Now, when it came to outlining the pumpkins on the ground, I didn't do that, and I kind of regret it. Well, I kind of regret just like the two forefront pumpkins. The ones in the pile, I don't think I regret too much for not lining those because I like the way they look, but the two in the forefront, I realized that in order to make it look even more like it's in the forefront, I could have done some really bold line art on them, because the bolder the line art, the closer it looks to you on the paper, and the more it kind of catches your eye. So something with light line art like the ghosts, it doesn't matter too much, but the pumpkins, I should have kind of done thicker line art to push it forward. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how the entire sketchbook spread came out, and I had a lot of fun drawing Pumpkin Boy, and I might do him another 1 or 2 times before the month ends, cause why not? So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember I love you. Bye!